The phone rings at 3:17 a.m. Hey, night listener. Tonight we enter the shadows. Rain streaks the window in lines like claw marks. Wind pressing hollow against the glass, as if the night itself is breathing. Somewhere down the street, a neon sign buzzes through static, its light stuttering over a puddle thick with oil and memory. Footsteps echo faintly across concrete 3 floors below, each one like a warning or a whisper. A car passes, too slow, then vanishes. The city holds its breath, and then it happens. Your phone rings, 3:17 a.m. Too early for good news, too late for a mistake. You answer, not with words, just a breath. You're already listening before the voice speaks. Except it's not the dispatcher. It's a voice you haven't heard in years, gravel-lined, sharp, familiar, in the way a recurring nightmare feels familiar. You missed something. It says, same address as before. Then it hangs up. You stare at the screen. No caller ID, no log. Like the call wasn't supposed to exist. You knew, but pretended you didn't. You dress without thinking, habit doing the work for you. Dark coat, old shoes, gun holstered out of routine more than necessity. The detective badge you haven't officially worn in 6 months, tucked into your coat pocket, like a secret you're still ashamed of. Outside, the streets are too quiet. Your car is colder than it should be. You drive on instinct. 6 blocks. Turn left past the liquor store that only ever stocks regret. Then you see it. The yellow tape. The bookstore on Laurel. The one you remember for its smell of dust and endings. You killed a case here once. Or thought you did. Tonight, the windows are smeared with blood, but no glass is broken. No alarms triggered. The lights are on inside, flickering. You duck under the tape. No other officers yet. Just you and her. The bodies slumped over the counter. No signs of struggle. Just a single crimson smear across her cheek, as though someone laid a hand there. Gently, intimately. There's a paperback on the floor near her feet. Crime and Punishment, of course. The corner of the cover is torn, folded like a marker. You crouch down and see what it's saving, page 237. Underlined in red pain and suffering are always inevitable for a large intelligence and a deep heart. You don't remember underlining it, but it's your pen. You know the shade of red. You feel the weight of it still in your coat. Everyone lies, especially the quiet ones. You walk behind the counter, spot something almost invisible on the floor, half hidden beneath the register. A Polaroid photo, unlabeled, of you standing in the same spot from tonight. But it couldn't have been taken. You only just arrived. You look up. The surveillance camera blinks. Not recording, just watching. The air shifts, heavy, like you're being judged by something with too much context and not enough patience. You pocket the photo and the pen and walk back out into the rain. It was never about the truth. It was about control. You knew where this was going. You'd been here before, and you'd already started hiding it. Blood in the bookstore window. The rain doesn't wash the blood away. It slides down the glass like a warning too proud to hide. Crimson against fluorescent. Clean lines against a filthy world. You stand outside the bookstore again, this time on the curb. From this angle, the smear on the window looks deliberate, like a signature. Not from the victim, from the killer. Or maybe from you. You turn your collar up. A car slows behind you, then drives on. Your breath fogs the window when you step close. The condensation mists over the smear. For a moment, the blood disappears, and you like it that way. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Inside, the body is still warm. No forced NA, no forced entry. No weapon left behind. Just the way you like it, when a case wants to look simple, when the cleanup needs to be quick, and the truth needs to stay buried. Her name was Mira Devon, owner, late 30s, no record, no enemies, not that kind. But you recognize her now. You'd met her once, a year ago. You were chasing someone else, and she gave you the wrong name. You didn't call her on it. She smiled too softly, her voice too careful. Everyone lies, especially the ones who hand you coffee and ask what kind of story you want to hear. The blood on the window wasn't from a head wound. That was clean, too clean. No splatter, just one impact, behind the ear. You checked the floor, not a drop, but on the counter. A book open face down, your glove print on the page. You didn't wear gloves tonight. You shouldn't be here, but you are. And so is that print. The novel is a true crime memoir, out of print, rare. A chapter titled, "He knew the ending before the crime began." You flip back 3 pages, an inscription in the margin, in Mira's handwriting, to D. We always write our own cover-ups. It was never about the truth. It was about control. You feel the weight of the pen in your pocket again. The red ink you didn't use tonight. But maybe, once, you turn back toward the door and notice something new. A camera, not the store's. A tripod-mounted DSLR sitting across the street in the bookstore's reflection. You spin, but the street is empty. The camera's gone. Only the wet imprint of its tripod feet remain in the gutter. 3 precise shadows in the rain. They were watching, and they wanted you to know they were. You pull your phone. No missed calls. No photos in your gallery. Except one, just added. A few. Tonight, standing over Mira's body. Same pose, same guilt. Just a few minutes ago. Except in the photo, her eyes are still open, staring straight at you. The missing surveillance tape. You press your thumb against the play button. Nothing happens. The security monitor blinks once, a soft blue pulse in the dark, and then returns to the gray static you've come to trust more than any witness. The footage should be there. You were told it would be. You even remember seeing it. But memory is a suspect with no alibi. You eject the tape from the VCR. The label is hand-scrawled in permanent marker, 3:00 a.m. Mira Devon. It looks like your handwriting, but it's not fresh. The edges of the label are frayed, curling like something forgotten in a drawer too long. You knew, but pretended you didn't. The evidence locker in the back of the bookstore is unlocked. That's the first red flag. Mira didn't keep much, just one old shoebox filled with mini DV tapes, USB drives, and the occasional receipt folded with obsessive precision. Everything tagged, numbered, aligned, except this one tape, the one in your hand. It has no corresponding entry in the log, no mention in the store's catalog of recordings. It shouldn't exist, but it does, at least for now. You flip open your field notebook, the one you stopped carrying after Internal Affairs asked too many questions. Inside, a photograph slips loose, another Polaroid, this one of the evidence locker, time-stamped, 3 days ago, same contents, same tape. You weren't here 3 days ago. At least, you don't remember being here. But there's your watch in the shot, face down on the desk, cracked at the corner, just like it is now. Everyone lies, especially the ones who keep their own time. You hear the creak before you see the movement. The bookstore's back door barely ajar. Beyond it, the alley disappears into fog, but on the knob, a black thread, tied once. No knot, a signal. The kind used between detectives working a quiet detail. The kind you haven't used in years. You follow it into the alley. Just one light above you, flickering like it's caught between truths. Then you see the trash bin, its lid cracked open. Inside the missing hard drive, wrapped in a silk scarf, you recognize the print. It was hers. Mira used to wear it wrapped around her neck when she shelved books about justice. The silk is blood-stained, not fresh, old. You unfold it. Inside the drive's casing is shattered, not smashed, surgically cracked, like someone wanted the data ruined, but the shell preserved. A message for whoever might come looking. The scarf slips from your fingers. There's something else at the bottom of the bin. A matchbox from Club Veritas, burned at the edges, but still readable. The club was closed years ago, after the fire, after your case, after you buried what you thought would stay buried. It was never about the truth. It was about control. You feel your breath catch in your throat, because now you're not following the case anymore. It's following you. A glove in the ashes. You return home just before dawn. The city exhales around you, steam rising from vents, headlights cutting through drizzle like lies, pretending to be clarity. You let the door shut behind you, and it echoes like a verdict. The apartment smells like damp paper and unopened mail. You haven't been here in days, but somehow the kettle is warm. You don't drink tea. On the kitchen table, something small and black sits perfectly centered. A leather glove, right hand only, dusty, but not dusty enough. You reach for it. It's cold, damp at the fingertips. You flip it over. There, in faded stitching, your initials. Inside, on the tag, old police issue. You lost it years ago, or told yourself you did. You knew, but pretended you didn't. The fireplace across the room unused. Ornamental smells faintly of smoke. You crouch beside it. Ashes still warm. You brush them back, fingertips trembling. Beneath the gray, something glints. A burnt photo, cracked, half melted. But you recognize the scene, Mira's body, from a different angle than you saw at the scene. And on the edge of the frame, a silhouette, yours facing away. You were photographed again, but this angle couldn't have been taken from the store. It had to come from above, the roof, or a second window. You look at the glove again. Tucked inside, barely visible, is a torn corner of a file folder, stamped with a name, case number 417 D, or Somatis, classified. Your handwriting. You remember it from your time in internal affairs. That case was sealed. You weren't supposed to touch it again, but here it is, in your apartment, wrapped in a glove no one should have found. Everyone lies, especially the ones who say they've moved on. You hear something shift behind you, a creak. You spin around, weapon drawn, breath held. Nothing. No one. Just your hallway mirror, cracked. A single line runs from corner to corner like a spider's whisper. You walk toward it, on the edge. Written in red ink you recognize too well. She knew what you did. The mirror shows you something else now. Not your face, but Mira's bookshelf, the one behind the counter. You'd missed it before. Third shelf down. A gap, wide enough for a journal, or a gun. You pick up the phone, dial precinct archives. No answer. You don't leave a message. You're not here for a record. You're here for a memory. One you thought you buried in fire. It was never about the truth. It was about control. You hold the glove. And no, it doesn't belong to the killer. It belongs to the person who cleaned up after you, the witness who forgot too much. You find her behind the bakery on Denton Street. She's sitting on an overturned milk crate, puffing smoke into the cold air like she's been waiting for this interrogation her entire life. Or maybe just this morning? You recognize her, sort of. Her name is Arla Jensen, local, early 40s. Early, lives 2 blocks from the bookstore. Claims to have seen the whole thing. Claims, that word, is your least favorite part of witness statements. You flash your old badge. She squints at it like it's a tarot card, then nods. I saw her go in at 2:42. I remember the time because I checked my phone. Battery died right after. You make a note. Not because you believe her, but because liars always trip on their own details. Did you see anyone else? Arla pauses, like she's scrolling through a list in her mind that someone else wrote. I think so. Man in a long coat, like yours. You don't react. Couldn't see his face. She adds quickly. But he walked out around 3. And what did you do? I went home. No call to the police. She taps the side of her head. I've learned to mind my own business. You nod slowly, then pull out your phone. You said your battery died. She blinks. What? You said your phone died after 2:42. A beat passes. Oh, yeah, I charged it later. You don't call her on it. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Because the truth is, she's repeating something. You've heard this pattern before. Same phrasing, same timeline. You'd written it once. In a report? 5 years ago? Different witness, different case, same crime scene layout, same book on the floor. Crime and punishment. Everyone lies, especially the ones who think they're doing you a favor. You thank her. She flicks her cigarette to the ground like it's a signal. Tell Mira I said hi, she says, and walks away. You don't stop her. Your heart thuds once, twice. Then you bend down to pick up the crushed cigarette. On the filter, scrawled in tiny pen, 417D, ask the judge. You pocket the cigarette. It's not about the nicotine. It's about the code. Case 417D was sealed, buried. Until someone started digging, you turn the corner to head back to your car and pause because someone's already inside it. Driver's side door open, engine on. A figure sits behind the wheel, wearing your coat, wearing your watch, head tilted forward like they're asleep. You run, but when you get there, the seat is empty. No one. Just your tape recorder on the dash, still warm. You hit play, and a voice, distorted, speaks 4 words. You solved it once. The tape cuts off. It was never about the truth. It was about control, and someone else is holding the controller now. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. You knock on the door, even though it's already open. Mira's sister, Lila Devon, answers like she's been expecting you, but not because she's surprised. More like she rehearsed this moment in her head 10 times and still got the script wrong. She's younger than Mira by maybe 6 or 7 years. Eyes too sharp for grief. Voice too measured for loss. You introduce yourself, but she doesn't ask for ID. Doesn't need to. I know who you are, she says, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear with the precision of someone trying to control everything, even her morning. Her apartment smells like white wine and lavender cleaner. A kitchen timer ticks from somewhere inside. You follow her in. The walls are lined with framed photographs, but none include Mira. Not one. You nod toward them. You two weren't close. She tilts her head. We were complicated. Everyone lies, especially the quiet ones. Lila motions to the couch, offers you tea. You decline. She brings you tea anyway. You sit. The cup is steaming, the temperature of someone trying too hard to be helpful. You sip once, to be polite. It tastes faintly of cloves. Then she speaks. I don't believe she was killed by a stranger. You raise an eyebrow. Why? She looks down into her own untouched cup. Because Mira didn't trust anyone new. She never let them in. Not since the last time. The last time what? She hesitates. Then glances toward the hallway like she's listening for someone else's answer. Then, since the fire, that word, it hits like a photograph catching fire. The fire from case 4116D. You knew, but pretended you didn't. What fire, you ask, already knowing the answer. But Lila smiles, and it doesn't touch her eyes. I think you know. She reaches behind the couch, pulls out a shoebox. Inside are scraps of paper, burnt at the edges, case notes, handwritten, your handwriting, and a photograph of a courtroom. You standing beside Mira, in the witness box. Only that never happened. You weren't part of that case. At least, you shouldn't have been. I found this in Mira's safe, Lila says, as if explaining the weather. She said to give it to you if anything ever happened to her. You ask the question, even though the answer terrifies you. When did she say that? 6 years ago. Before the bookstore. Before the reassignment. Before you ever met her. Except, apparently, you had. Everyone lies, especially to themselves. You scan the notes, they're detailed, obsessed. They paint a version of you that's too specific to be fake. Every line annotated in red ink, every margin filled with quotes from Dostoevsky, and one recurring phrase, repeated again and again. Truth is never the end. It's the beginning of control. You look back at Lila. She's watching you too carefully, too still. Then the timer in the kitchen dings. She doesn't move, just smiles again. Still empty, maybe, she says softly. You were meant to forget. You stand, and the teacup in your hand suddenly feels heavier. The glove from your apartment sits on the end table. You didn't bring it. You didn't leave it. It's just there, resting beside a folded napkin with 4 numbers written in the same ink as your case files. 4116D. You leave without finishing the tea. Outside, the wind picks up, carries a torn page from Mira's journal down the steps behind you. You snatch it before it flies away. One sentence scrawled across it. I never told him I remembered. It was never about the truth. It was about control. And someone made sure Mira was never in control again. The judge who shouldn't remember you. The courthouse smells the same. Disinfectant and denial. Marble floors that echo louder the guiltier you are. The security guard nods without making eye contact. You're not supposed to be here anymore. But you've still got the kind of face that says, don't ask. 3rd floor. Judge Renner's chambers. You knock, but the door is already open, like most things in this case. Too open. Too staged. Come in, he says, without looking up. He's older now. Thinner. A ghost wrapped in authority. The gavel on his desk sits beside a framed photograph of him and you, smiling. Only, you've never seen that photo before. You sit across from him, not sure which version of yourself he's expecting. He finally looks up. I wondered when you'd come. You remember me. I remember your testimony. Your stomach drops. You never testified. Not in 417D. You were never called. You're mistaken. You say. He chuckles. Not kindly. Maybe. Or maybe they just made sure you'd forget. You shift in your seat. I need access to the sealed files. All of them. He doesn't move. Just gestures to a drawer at his right. Already waiting. You open it. Inside a thick folder stamped, classified in red ink. On top, a black and white photograph of Mira, younger, sitting across a deposition table from you. Her eyes wide. your mouth mid-sentence. Below that, transcriptions, dozens, your voice, recorded in block letters. I knew the fire wasn't an accident. She told me where the box was buried. If this gets out, they'll come after me too. You don't remember saying any of it, but it's your cadence, your phrasing, your lies. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Judge Renner watches you read. Then he says, softly, they wiped you clean, not because you were innocent, but because you were too useful. You close the file slowly. What was in the box? He shrugs. The real evidence, photos, tapes. The only thing that could prove the arson was intentional and not Mira's doing. You mean someone framed her? He taps the desk with one bony finger. No, I mean you did. The sentence falls like a hammer. Your hands tremble. Why would I do that? It was never about the truth. It was about control. There's silence. Then a knock at the door. Renner looks nervous for the first time. He slides the folder back toward you. You didn't hear this from me. You stand. The knock comes again, harder. He waves you toward the back exit. You move fast. Out the rear hallway. Down the old stairwell. At the bottom, more silence. You open the folder again. Inside is one more item. A cassette tape. Labeled in handwriting you recognize too well. Mira. Confession. Before fire. You slide it into your pocket. The smell of smoke hits you as you step outside. Not in the air, in your memory. And it's not fading, it's intensifying. Like something's coming back you were never supposed to hold on to. Everyone lies, especially the ones trying to disappear. The cassette that spoke too clearly. You haven't touched a tape deck in years, but the one in your storage unit still works just barely. It whirs like it's winding up a secret, and the play button sticks for a moment before clicking into place with a mechanical sigh. Mira's voice fills the room, calm, precise, too steady for someone confessing. If you're hearing this, I'm already gone. You sit on the floor, back against the cold metal shelving. The box of case files from Form 17D lies open beside you, a maze of fragments and crossed out truths. It wasn't supposed to be me, but they chose me because I looked innocent. I was convenient, quiet. That's what they needed. Someone to hold the lie. You pause the tape. Her words are too close. Not just familiar, intimate. You rewind 5 seconds. Press play again. They chose me. There's a click, a background sound. Familiar? Typing. Then the sound of a lighter. One flick. Then a pause. You freeze. That sound? It's the same pattern you make when you light a cigarette flick. Hesitate. Inhale. Mira never smoked. But you did. Back then. You rewind again. Listen. And this time, something else becomes clear. It's not just her voice on the tape. It's yours. You coaching her through it. Whispering between sentences. Feeding her the script. Say the part about being chosen again. Slower this time. The voice is you. No doubt. You knew, but pretended you didn't. The memory crashes down like glass in a thunderstorm. The warehouse. The echo of your boots on cement. Mira sitting under a dangling light bulb. Her hands shaking as you pass her the script. You were part of it. Worse, you directed it. You coached her into confessing to something you framed because the real arsonist was someone else, someone too valuable to lose. You. It was never about the truth. It was about control. And now the tape is speaking louder. I didn't want to lie, but he said it was the only way to keep me alive. You hit stop, but the tape doesn't stop. It keeps whirring, and then static, until another voice speaks. Your voice, different tone, harsher. Delete this. It can't be found. Not even by me. But it was found. You found it. So who left it? You pop the tape out. A tiny slip of paper falls from the deck's mouth like a secret it finally couldn't keep. It reads, "She was never the only witness." You feel cold, colder than the metal shelves at your back. You gather the cassette. The files, the guilt, all of it fits into a single box. But you don't feel lighter. You feel like someone finally unzipped the part of your life you sealed shut. And now the truth is leaking out. On the inside of the box lid, scribbled in red ink familiar, shaky. Look for the man in the verdict photo. He's not supposed to be there. You snap a picture of the note. Then you reach into the envelope from Judge Renner. You pull out the courtroom photo again. 13 people, not 12. One in the back, blurred, watching, smiling, wearing your coat. Everyone lies, especially the ones hiding in plain sight. The man in the verdict photo. You hold the photo at arm's length under the desk lamp, its yellow glow shaking as the bulb hums like it's nervous too. There are supposed to be 12 jurors. You count 13. Again and again. Same result. The man in the back row, third from the right, head turned slightly, eyes down, almost out of focus, but not quite enough. He's wearing a courthouse ID badge, but it's turned backward. You squint closer. His posture is familiar, too familiar. Then your heart folds in on itself. You have a copy of that coat. You remember the exact crease in the shoulder because it's yours. You zoom in on your phone. The face is partially obscured, but the shadow cast by his jawline identical to yours. You flip to the transcript from the trial. Juror list, names, backgrounds, all vetted, but none match that face. There's no 13th man, and yet there he is, in the verdict photo, a ghost with fingerprints. You knew, but pretended you didn't, because the truth is scarier than the lie. You tuck the photo away and head to the courthouse archives, the basement level, where paper lives longer than people. The clerk is asleep behind the counter, or pretending to be. You walk past him, into the file vault. Box 417D is already out, already opened. Not by you. Its contents sit on the table like they've been waiting. Another photo lies on top. Same courtroom, same day. But this time, the 13th man is facing the camera. Full face, clear, unsmiling. It's you. Only it isn't. Not exactly. Younger, hair combed differently, eyes colder. A scar above the eyebrow you don't have. You stumble back because the resemblance is uncanny and wrong. This version of you never blinked at the fire, never looked away from the lie. You rifle through the rest of the documents. One envelope stands out. Inside a government ID badge. The name reads Graham Vick. The face is yours, with the scar. Issued 6 years ago. Federal Task Force. Subversion and Psychological Interference Division. You don't remember ever working for them, but you remember the phone number scrawled on the back. You called it once, the day after the fire. It was never about the truth. It was about control. And maybe you were being controlled too. You hear footsteps outside the archive. Not fast. Deliberate. You slip the badge into your pocket and kill the light. The footsteps pause just outside the door. Then a whisper through the crack. You're not supposed to be awake yet. You stay still, silent. Breath held between beats of dread. The knob jiggles once, then nothing. Just the sound of a ticking clock echoing from somewhere deeper in the building. When you turn the lights back on, the badge in your hand has changed. Different name, same face, and on the back, A fresh note. You chose this once. You'll choose it again. Everyone lies, especially the ones who volunteered to forget. The clock that wasn't ticking. Yesterday, you returned to your apartment, but it doesn't feel like yours anymore. Too many things are in their place. Exactly in place. The glove you left on the end table, gone. The tape recorder, back in your coat pocket, though you swear you left it behind in the car. You move through the living room slowly, as if the walls might lean in and whisper. Then you hear it. Tick, tick, tick. The sound is so faint, you almost convince yourself it's your heartbeat. But it isn't. You follow it into the hallway, into the coat closet, behind an old raincoat you haven't worn since the day after the bookstore fire. Taped to the inside wall, a wind-up clock, old-fashioned, brass, unmarked, and ticking. You unhook it from the nail. It's warm, engraved on the back, almost invisible. 417D reset Suspense 2, HRS. You wind it once. The ticking stops. You wait. Then, faintly, it starts again, but backwards. It's counting down. You check your watch. 3:17 and M. You don't know what happens in 72 hours, but the panic blooming in your ribs tells you it isn't a party. You knew, but pretended you didn't. A knock at your door. Not loud, rhythmic, familiar. The same knock from your first day at Internal Affairs. 3 short, 1 long. You open the door. No one there. Only a package. Wrapped in butcher paper. No address. Inside a VHS tape. Labeled only first version. You don't own a VCR, but you know who does. There's a pawn shop 3 blocks down. Owner used to moonlight as a surveillance consultant. Owes you a favor from a wiretap cover-up you buried with whiskey and a signed affidavit. You head there now, rain hissing through streetlights, your breath fogging like the truth you're trying to exhale. The door's already open. You're late. The owner says he's got a bad eye and a worse temper. You hand him the tape. He slides it into the player, grainy static. Then you, sitting across from Mira, again, but this time she's crying and you're not saying anything, just staring like you're waiting for her to break. Then your voice, tell them what I told you. Her reply, they'll know. Someday they'll know I didn't start the fire. Your voice again, cold. That's not your concern. Just say it how we rehearsed. The screen goes black. Then red words fade in, letter by letter. You erased her memory and yours. You turn to the pawn shop owner, but he's gone. Just a tape machine still spinning, and on the counter beside it, a photo of you in the bookstore, holding a lighter, smiling. It was never about the truth. It was about control. And now control is slipping. Tick, tick, tick. The countdown is louder now. Because maybe it's not counting down. Maybe it's counting back. Everyone lies, especially the ones trying to rewrite time. The woman with the identical scar. You leave the pawn shop with the tape still warm in your coat pocket, like it remembers your fingerprints before you even touched it. The rain has softened, but every drop feels targeted. You retrace your steps. You don't know why. Maybe to confirm the street still exists. Maybe to confirm you still do. The bookstore is gone now, boarded up, condemned. But as you pass, someone watches from the alley. You feel it, that pressure behind the neck, like you are being photographed without consent. You stop, turn. She's standing in the shadow of a broken neon sign. Trench coat, umbrella she isn't using, hair pulled tight, like she's trying to control the wind with posture. She doesn't speak. You do. Do I know you? She smiles. It's crooked. There's a scar on her left eyebrow, just like the one your double had in the courtroom photo. But this time, it's on the right side. You narrow your eyes. What is this? She steps forward, hands you a folded sheet of paper, yellowed and smelling like forgotten things. Don't read it here, she says. Then she's gone. Not walked away. Gone, like a glitch resolved. You head home. Every window feels like it's looking in. Inside, you unfold the note. One word written over and over. Reversion. Below it, coordinates. You punch them into your phone. Abandoned federal psychiatric facility. Shut down 8 years ago for unauthorized memory mapping trials. Case 41 D originated there. You didn't know that. Or maybe you did, and chose not to. You flip the paper over. There's a drawing, a crude sketch of two faces, yours and hers, but on her face an eye is scratched out. Below it, someone wrote, "The evidence isn't missing. It's living." You pace, try to breathe. You don't remember ever meeting this woman, but her scar, her presence, it tugs something loose inside your head. Not a memory, a feeling, like waking up and not recognizing your own voice. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Your phone rings. Blocked number. You answer. A voice distorted, synthesized, says, 3 days left. She remembers what you buried. You try to reply, but the line goes dead. And then another knock at the door. 3 short, 1 long. You freeze. Whoever's on the other side doesn't wait this time. The door creaks open on its own, but no one is there. Just a box. Inside it, a cracked mirror, with your name etched into the corner. Below your reflection, barely legible. The detective solved the case, then hid himself. You stare at your reflection, then look deeper, not into the mirror, through it, because some truths aren't hidden in silence. They're screaming in your own voice. The facility that wasn't shut down. You drive through the fog like it's pressing back against your tires. The GPS stops tracking 10 miles out. The roads narrowing until they become gravel and memory. The facility appears on the horizon like a bruise rising out of the earth. Iron gates, chained but open. Not rusted shut, just pretending to be abandoned. You park outside the perimeter. The silence hums. No birds, no wind. Just the weight of something waiting. You approach the entrance. A keypad glows to life when you near it. No prompt. Just blinking. You try your badge, Graham Wicks. The door clicks. Inside, the air smells like chemicals and dusted over betrayal. The walls are padded in some places, steel in others, half hospital, half bunker. You move quietly, gun drawn, not because you expect a threat, but because you know you were one once. Room 12B, it's not locked. Inside a chair, straps frayed, a single two-way mirror on the far wall, but no reflection. You step forward and the light flickers. The intercom crackles on. Then a voice not distorted, not unfamiliar. Yours, from a recording. Subject's reversion stable for 7 months, but the memory bleed has accelerated. Unacceptable risk. Pause. If containment fails, initiate protocol. Mirror fire, full cognitive reset. You lean in toward the mirror. Who were you recording that for? You whisper. The mirror blinks, and you're no longer looking at your reflection. You're looking at her, Mira, strapped into the chair. In a recording, a projection. You don't know. She's weeping, whispering. He made me forget, and then made himself forget. You recoil, because it's true. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Behind the mirror, A light switches on, revealing shelves of cassette trays. Hundreds, each labeled with names, some crossed out. One reads Vic G. Mira J. Session 29. You play it. Tell me again. Your voice says, I didn't light the fire. Mira sobs. And who did silence? Then your voice again. You're going to say it was you. The tape cuts off. You throw it across the room. A metal clatter behind you. A box has fallen from the top shelf. Inside your old notebook, the one you used as a rookie. Only it's not your handwriting. Page after page. Mira's scrawl. Her drawings, notes. He visits after dark, but not always as himself. They told me to smile and lie, so I did. If you find this, you're waking up. Stay awake. You flip to the last page. A sketch of a house, your house. Underneath, come home before they erase it again. You hear footsteps in the hallway. Not slow, urgent. You bolt from the room, back through the facility. But every hallway now ends in a mirror, each one reflecting not your face, but a version of it, younger, colder, wearing that same coat, watching, smiling. Everyone lies, especially the ones trained to interrogate themselves. You exit into the night with one truth in your hands. You didn't just hide evidence, you became it. The house she drew from memory. You drive back through the early morning dark with Mira's sketch burning in your mind like the fuse of a hidden bomb. The house she drew, it isn't yours. Not technically, but it was once. Long ago. Before you switched districts. Before you changed your name. Before the fire rewrote everything. You'd forgotten it. Chosen to. And now it remembers you. You follow back roads until the trees thin and the fog lifts just enough to reveal it white fence, peeling porch, a window forever stuck half open on the second floor. Exactly like the drawing, except it shouldn't exist anymore. You were told it burned down. You reported it burned down. You approach slowly, like it might vanish if you look too directly. The front door creaks open on its own. Inside, the air smells like dust, old paper. And the moment before a lie is told, you step over the threshold and something shifts. You're not sure what, but your heartbeat skips. And every memory you thought was buried rustles like dry leaves behind your ribs. The living room is untouched. Same rug, same chair, same photograph on the mantel. You, Mira, smiling. You don't remember this photo being taken, but there it is, your arm around her shoulder, her hand tucked behind her back like she's hiding something. You lean in. There's a smudge under the frame, faint, red ink. You wipe it with your sleeve. One word appears, unwind. Your fingers twitch. A thump upstairs. Not footsteps. Something falling. You climb the stairs, every creak echoing louder than your breath. The second floor hallway is lined with drawings, dozens, crayons, pens, charcoal, all of them showing the same scene: the bookstore, on fire, a girl running, a man watching. Sometimes the man has your face, sometimes he doesn't. At the end of the hall, a door painted black. You open it. Inside a small study, cassette tapes stacked to the ceiling, and on the desk, your badge, the real one, the one you lost the night of the trial. Beside it, a sealed envelope, your name, your real name. You open it. Inside a letter, written in Mira's handwriting. You came back. You always do. But this time, don't run. Don't erase it again. I kept the memories in here, the real ones, yours and mine. Listen, and then choose. Below the letter, a small silver key, stamped F17D. The same code etched into the ticking clock. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Because choosing the truth means living with what you did. You pocket the key, then you see the mirror on the far wall, cracked, your reflection fractured, but behind the cracks, her face, watching, waiting. Everyone lies, especially the ones who come home. The room you never admitted existed. You sit on the edge of the bed that doesn't remember you. The key in your palm feels heavier than it should, as if weighted by all the choices it once locked behind doors. F17D. The designation repeats in your mind like a cursed mantra. Downstairs, the ticking starts again. Not the wall clock, the countdown clock, still winding backward. Faster now. You open the cellar door. The basement stairs smell of wet cement and hidden things. At the bottom, a door, steel plated, no knob, only a key slot. You insert the key. It fits. Of course it does. You turn it. The lock releases with a soft mechanical sigh, like a machine waking up from a long dream. Inside the room, the lights flicker to life one by one. It's not a cellar, it's a lab. Yours, you knew, but pretended you didn't. Rows of files line the shelves, organized by names, some familiar, some scratched out in thick black marker. In the center, a chair, identical to the one at the facility, and next to it, a mirrored panel. Behind the mirror, recording equipment, and a small table with photographs, dozens of them. Mira, different ages, different hairstyles, different expressions, but always her, always watched. You see one labeled Session 19 Resistance Point. She's looking directly into the camera, eyes red, but not from crying, from fury. Below that photo, a sticky note. She remembered. You chose to forget. Begin reversion protocol. On the far wall, a monitor. You power it on. A single video file. Title, Final Session. If found, do not replay. So, of course you do. It begins with you. Hair shorter, voice firmer. You're interviewing Mira, but you're not asking questions. You're giving instructions. After this session, you'll remember the fire as your fault. You'll leave the city. You won't contact me again. You'll believe you're protecting me. She stares blankly. And if I remember, you smile, cold. You won't. You fast forward. Later, she's sobbing, holding a photograph. It's you and her childhood versions. She's pointing at the background. A man, blurry, standing in the distance. You rewind, pause, zoom in. It's you, older, watching them. Time cracks inside your skull. How long has this been going on? You close the video. Below the monitor is a glass case, inside a revolver, and a tape labeled Reversion Complete. The lights in the lab dim. The mirror flickers to life. Your reflection. But this time, it smiles before you do, and speaks without moving its lips. She didn't run from the fire. She ran from you. You back away, but there's nowhere to run. Everyone lies, especially the ones who built the lie. The tape marked, "Don't listen alone." You carry the tape labeled Reversion Complete. Upstairs, like it's a bomb with a heartbeat, the clock on the mantel ticks louder now. Each tick echoes like a gavel in a courtroom you no longer believe in. You push the old cassette deck into place, the one you swore you threw away years ago. But here it is, waiting. The tape clicks in. You hesitate, then press play. White noise, then static resolves into a voice. Yours, but layered, filtered, distorted in a way that feels like memory underwater. This is the final sequence. If you're hearing this, containment has failed. You are no longer the detective. You are the subject. You stiffen. Then another voice comes through. Mira's, soft, bruised. You promised you'd protect the truth. Then you erased it. The sound of fire crackling, glass shattering. Then your voice again, this time raw. I couldn't let them take you, so I took myself instead. The tape whirs louder, then silence. You pause it, breathe, but a new sound is playing beneath the silence. A looped whisper. Tick, 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 tick. You rewind instinctively and find an audio layer hidden in reverse. You flip the tape. Play again. Now her voice is screaming raw and terrified. The man in the jury. He wasn't a stranger. He was you. You trained them. You reel back. You built the mirror rooms. You tested them on me. I wasn't the first. Just the last one you cared about. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Another click. Then your voice. Calm and surgical. She knows. Terminate the persona. Archive version 3. Restart reversion loop. Phase out. Identity. Insert guilt-based compliance. Protocol code word. Ashes. The tape pops out on its own. Spits itself onto the floor. Burned along one edge. The phone rings. Again. Blocked number. You pick up. A child's voice answers. A little girl? Uncle Vic. Are we still playing hide and seek? You go cold. Who is this? You told me if I found the house again, the game would be over. Your knees nearly buckle. You whisper. What's your name? Silence. Then Mira. But they called me something else before you gave it back. You drop the phone. The lights flicker. The mirror across the room begins to fog. From the inside, you cross the floor and reach for it. But your reflection isn't copying your movements anymore. It leans in while you freeze. It mouths the words, "There's still one truth left." Then the crack down the mirror deepens like a wound reopening. You hear the basement door creak again. The clock stops ticking. Everyone lies, especially the ones who wanted to be forgotten. The basement door opened on its own. One. You don't remember walking downstairs. Only that suddenly you're halfway into the dark, your fingers brushing the wall, trailing dust from another version of your life. The air is colder now, colder than it should be, like memory has a temperature. And this one died years ago. The light bulb overhead swings slightly. You didn't touch it. You didn't breathe. But something in this house remembers motion. The door at the end of the hallway, the one marked F17D, is open now. Just a crack. Just enough. Like it's exhaling. You step closer. Inside, the room has changed. The tapes are gone. The chair is still there, but it's not empty. She's sitting in it. Mira, not weeping, just watching. And she speaks before you do. How many times have we done this now? You freeze. She nods toward the wall. Behind her, a series of tally marks, scratched deep into the paint. You count. 17. You ask, "Is this real?" She laughs. Not cruel. Not warm. That's not your job anymore. You were never the detective. Remember? You were the test. You try to step back, but the door seals shut behind you. Click. The chair turns with her. She pulls something from behind her back. A mirror. Cracked. She holds it up to your face. You knew, but pretended you didn't. She whispers. In the reflection, it's not just you. It's the versions of you, all layered, ghosting over each other. Detective, interrogator, witness, subject, and one of them is smiling. Not this you, but one that looks directly into the glass and says, "I buried the evidence in her, but I forgot I put myself there too." Your knees go weak. Mira stands now. The chair creaks behind her like it's grieving. She presses something into your hand. A photograph, burnt edges, a child, her, standing in front of the bookstore. Behind her, again you, in the crowd, watching. I found all the pieces, she says, but only you can stop the loop. You shake your head. Why me? She leans in. Because some truths only obey the liar who created them. Because you built the lie, and you buried the key, and it's still in your chest. Your hand moves instinctively to your coat pocket, the silver key. It glows slightly now, warmer than flesh. On instinct, you step toward the mirrored wall. The frame buzzes when you approach. The surface bends like water, like a membrane, and on the other side, the outline of a courtroom, empty, except one person sitting in the jury box. You, not you, but the version that condemned her, the one who sat silent, the real killer. You press your hand to the mirror. It presses back. Everyone lies, especially the ones sitting in judgment. The jury box that reflected your face. You lean into the mirror and it lets you through, not with a shatter, not with a sound, but like breath on glass, finally being exhaled. The world shifts. One blink and you're in the courtroom, empty, dim, except for the flickering overhead bulb and that relentless ticking you can't trace. Every pew is vacant, except one, the jury box, where he sits, where you sit, the version of you in the pressed charcoal suit, hands clasped, chin high, expression unreadable, the kind of face that knows it's already written the ending. You approach him, but he doesn't turn. You circle the railing, step into the box beside him. He stares forward, at nothing. You whisper, "Why did you do it?" Stillness. Then his head turns slowly, eyes like polished glass, because guilt is easier to wear than grief. He sets something down on the rail between you. Your badge, only it's been burned, warped, across the metal, etched in small, crude letters. Jury of one. You step back. The walls of the courtroom begin to peel, not in layers, but in versions. The rows become hospital beds. The ceiling tiles become sky. The jury becomes her. 12 versions of Mira, each one an age, a moment, a fracture. The child from the photo, the teenager in the police file, the woman in the chair, the survivor in the mirror. They speak at once. You didn't want justice. You wanted forgiveness without confession. And then, silence again. The one in the center stands. She walks down from the jury box toward the bench, lays the burned badge beside the judge's gavel, then points at you. The trial never ended. You just walked out before the verdict. The courtroom door creaks open behind you, but outside there's no hallway, only the bookstore again, on fire. Only this time, you're not watching from the shadows. You're inside. You see her, 10 years old, hiding behind a bookcase. You remember now. The arson wasn't a crime of passion. It was containment. Evidence reduced to ash. The truth was never about who lit the match. It was about who gave the order to strike it. You whisper. It was never about the truth. It was about control. The other you, the one in the jury box, vanishes. No flash, no scream, just gone. Everyone lies, especially the ones who think silence is mercy. You walk out of the courtroom alone, but the weight of 12 verdicts follows behind you. The fire was still burning inside her. Step into the bookstore, ruins not charred, not broken, but frozen in the moment before it burned. The shelves untouched, The smell of old paper and dust thick in the air, but something deeper underneath, scorched memory. The fire hasn't happened yet, but it's about to, and you're inside it. Somewhere, a record plays warped jazz, offbeat, like a heartbeat that's learning to lie. You walk past the mystery section, the rows of unsolved stories. You always avoided this aisle. Now you feel them watching you, not the books, the versions of you left behind. You reach the back of the shop, a locked door. You remember it didn't exist before the fire, but now it's waiting. You press the silver key into the lock. It turns without resistance. Inside a small room, soundproofed, cameras mounted to each corner, a two-way mirror across the far wall, another chair, and on the chair, a photograph. Mira, but not just Mira. She's holding something, a file, stamped Subject 0. You turn it over. Inside timelines, brain scans, notations in your handwriting. Subject responded to false memory implant at 82% efficiency. Fire narrative stable. Guilt reflex increased. You flip through. One note circled 3 times. If subject begins to remember, activate control. Mirror 3. Next page blank. Then a message in red ink. You already did. Now look in the glass. You turn. The mirror flickers. It doesn't show your face. It shows the fire, raging, alive, eating everything. And inside it, Mira, as a girl, as a woman, as a whisper. She's not running. She's walking into it. And she's mouthing something to you. Let it burn. You stumble back, hit the door frame. Smoke curls into the room real now. The mirror melts. Your reflection screams not from pain, but from being seen. You run, back through the store, but the aisles are longer now, twisting, endless, lit only by the flicker of a memory set ablaze. At the exit, you stop. Mira stands in the doorway, calm. She holds out a match. You hesitate, but she closes your hand around it. They can't erase it if you light it yourself. You know she's right. You always did. You just pretended you didn't. So you strike the match. And the bookstore begins to remember everything it was forced to forget. Everyone lies, especially the ones who call it therapy. The flames knew more than the files. Did the fire isn't just burning paper. It's burning through you, threading flame into memory, smoke into thought. The heat doesn't hurt, not like it should, because this isn't punishment, it's revelation. You walk into the blaze, and the smoke parts around you not to spare you, but to force you to look. Every aisle of the bookstore now flickers like film strip frames. Each shelf becomes a screen, each book a window into what you denied. You pass the psychology section books you used to quote in interviews to sound empathetic. They burn first. The law section. The pages curl as if laughing. You enter the children's aisle last. A single book lies on the floor, untouched by flame. A cloth-bound journal. My first lie handwritten on the cover. Inside pages filled in Mira's looping scrawl. He said he'd never forget me. He said the trial would make me safe. He said it wasn't my fault. He said if I told the truth, it would hurt more people. He said silence was love. Your knees give, and the match you struck, now reduced to ash in your hand, leaves a single black fingerprint over her final line. He solved the case, then made sure no one else ever could. A beam above you cracks. Dust rains down, but the fire doesn't collapse. It reconfigures into shape, into memory. You see her again? Mira standing in the flames, but she's not alone now. There are others, other survivors, other subjects. each holding a fragment of truth you stole. They encircle you, not with rage, with reckoning. Mira steps forward, holding out your badge, melted, blackened, but etched with something new. Now witness, you take it, but it brands your palm like justice pressed too late. You're not the detective anymore, she says. You're the one who saw and did nothing. The others nod, not to condemn, to confirm, because seeing the truth isn't what saves you. Accepting it is, and just before the fire consumes the last of the bookstore, a final sound breaks through, a slow, deliberate knock, not on a door, on a wall, like someone is still inside or never left. Everyone lies, especially the ones who keep their truths in fireproof rooms. The evidence was buried inside you. The bookstore dissolves into embers behind you, but you're no longer in the street outside. You're somewhere between the memory and the crime, somewhere no alibi can reach. The world's quiet here, but not empty. You stand in a corridor lined with mirrors, each one showing a version of you, not metaphorical, literal, detective, therapist, interrogator, juror, child, all the roles you played to outrun guilt, each one stepping slightly out of sync with your reflection, each one holding something, a photograph, a key, a tape, a match, a lie. You walk slowly down the corridor, watching your reflections watch you back, one by one. They vanish as you pass them, burned away by recognition, until only one remains, the boy, you, before the case, before Mira, before the guilt had language. He stares up at you, holding a red file. His hands tremble. You took it from me, he says. You kneel. I thought I was protecting you. He doesn't respond, just opens the file and points to the last page. It's blank. No name, no date, no verdict. He rips the page from the file and presses it against your chest. And suddenly, you're inside the final memory. Not watching, being. You're back in the interrogation room. But Mira's in your seat now. You're in the chair. Wires, notes, a camera rolling. She leans forward, her voice calm, clinical. Do you remember why we started the fire? You shake your head. She smiles. You're lying. The mirror cracks. And now you're back in your own skin, back in your home. The badge on the table, the burnt tape beside it. You stand, slowly, move to the wall where the mirror used to hang. You pick up the frame, empty now. And behind it, in the hollow of the wall, buried in plaster, the missing evidence box. You open it. Inside, only one thing, a single Polaroid. Mira, at age 10, standing with you, smiling. And on the back, in your handwriting, do not forget what you did to protect her, or why. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Now you can't pretend anymore. The truth was never lost. It was buried inside you. You step back, hear sirens in the distance, or maybe just memory, screaming its final appeal. The air shifts. You whisper, it was never about the truth. It was about control. And for once, you let go. You let the evidence speak. You let the mirror reflect. You let the case stay open. Everyone lies, especially the ones who solve the mystery too easily.